Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Behind Marketing
a
Lines.
podcast for marketers, aspiring marketers, and of course, non marketers. Our topic today is how to read social media trend in today's broader economy. And I'm pleased to welcome my guest, Roberta Cianetti. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Uh, I would love to introduce her before we get into the conversation with Roberta. She is an experienced senior executive with a robust background in media and international relations, specializing in business growth, strategic partnerships, innovation, and social media. She has crafted and executed high impact strategies and led diverse, multicultural teams for some of the world's most iconic media brands, reaching billions of consumers with compelling content and messaging. Hello, Roberta, again, and I'm very excited to have you here today. The last time we met was in Dubai at a marketing event, and we're meeting again after a lot of back and forth. But finally, we are here and doing this today. So, welcome aboard. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So, you're a social media marketer, and you have been working with some of the world's most iconic brands. I would love to have your input on social media. I mean, how has it evolved? We see a continuous shift. It's been more than 20 years that has been in place, and it has shifted, and the growth has been incredible. I mean, I remember those times when the web banners on the website used to be called digital marketing because that was the only source of digital marketing we had, right? And here we are today with the hyper personalization. So, how do you see the growth? And tell us, where do you see us in future?
Wow, that's a big question to break the ice. So first and foremost, if we think about the very, I would say, first social platform was what's to be considered by the majority to be the first social networking site. You might remember it used to be called 6 Degrees, and we were talking not even 2000. It was like 96, 97. And of course, I mean that's been like, and as you said, like a long time. But even if we jump to the early 2000 with Friendster, LinkedIn, MySpace, then that they were all coming around pretty much at the same time. But then I think, of course, if we are talking true milestone, probably Facebook in 2004 and YouTube the year after, and Twitter again. Started to kind of mix up a lot of the social media presence. But things probably starting to heat up a little bit more when Facebook surpassed, I would say, MySpace in the number of unique US visitors. And that was about, I think, 2000 and 2009. And that's pretty much the time where everything felt very much like a roller coaster. So if we think back, all of these years, and there are platforms that don't exist anymore. Think about even Google Plus, or even features like Instagram TV that's been going on for years up until to 2021, and platforms have been evolved tremendously. And I think if we, of course, there have been like 4 years of exciting times between 2014 and 2018, where you probably, when I tell you these things, you probably already understand that I'm talking about, the journey of TikTok. If we think about the journey even of the importance of video, that's been, that didn't happen overnight. There are lots of things that brought us where we are today into the relevance of, the video itself. Then you understand why Instagram Reels was introduced very much so in 2020. And then YouTube Shorts just happened on beta like the year before. And just coming a bit to more recent years, well, to 2023 was an incredible year for so many reasons. First of all, Twitter was rebranded, into X by Elon Musk. It was like a very, very big year of introducing new platforms, even on the Meta side. Meta launched four new platforms, so Threads to compete with X and all of its broadcast channels. It was definitely the year where even Pinterest started launching inclusive AI. And then, of course, Pinterest is doing so much. We know we're integrating a lot of AI features for shopping this year. 2024 feels like, it feels like it's only we still have quite a lot of months until the end of 24. So who knows what will happen in just very few months, but already so much has happened. So this year is definitely the year of AI and chatbots and messaging. But again, as everything, doesn't happen overnight. Gen AI has been, again, a standout trend since at least 2020, the 2022. And, you know, uh, February, it was something revolutionary happened. And I think it was one of the kind deal. Reddit just, struck a deal with Google to make its content available for trading to the search engine giants AI models. This was a $60 million per year deal. If we think about it, again, as I really like to imagine how things are connected, very, very recently, there were so many articles all over on how Reddit dramatically increased traffic to publisher sites, particularly the past month or so. And so this year is definitely a big year because, we had, a very big starting to consolidate regulation for AI with the European AI Act. Coming from March this year, the US House passed bill that could ban TikTok on a national level in the USA. TikTok this year announced it was testing 60 minutes videos. There's so much going on. It's like just a very, very, it's a very incredible times that we live in. And I would say there are lots of consideration definitely around Gen Zers disrupting the way things are even being consumed, but also, platforms trying to cope with all of this changing and publishers themselves. And at the same time, we have everything that is happening with giant groups like, Meta, ByteDance, and everyone else trying to innovate and at the same time, create new opportunities for commerce. Let's think about, TikTok Symphony just in June. And really, I think it's an incredible times that we live.
Wow. Well, that was digital marketing history 101. I think in few minutes only. Thank you very much. And I think what you've mentioned, I second you, how the platforms have evolved and how digital marketing has evolved and how the algorithms have evolved and things keep on changing for marketers. And this brings me to my next question. So many platforms you mentioned. I think if you don't talk about Orkut in between, I think because I used to be one of the initial users of Orkut back in the days, right after MySpace, I remember. But now in 2024, with so many hundreds of platforms out there, how do marketers keep up? Which platforms to use and which platforms to miss? And how do you see this going forward for aspiring marketers and established marketers?
Yeah, so that's another excellent question. I think I always like to remind myself and people, you don't have to be literally everywhere, but you carefully choose what's best for you and for your strategy. So that really much depends on what is your business, what is the your core objective, what is that you want to achieve, what are the goals of your company, because you really need to understand where you're going. At least, I mean, these times, I think it's really difficult to imagine very, very long-term strategies. But surely, you must have an idea of what's gonna happen, and how your social strategy can really have an impact on your overall strategy and support your company. So I think definitely it very much varies. But if I had to, if I had to be compelling, I would say start by analyzing a few things. So first of all, don't just look at the platform itself, but look at the, who is leading that platform, the group that is leading it. What are their, for instance, where is Meta? Where is Meta going? What is that Zuckerberg is saying these days? And he's saying so many things. And if I have a chance, I'd like to address that because so much has been happening again in the divulgation of news, specifically around Llama and everything that's been done. So for him, definitely AI is a big thing. But that the same can be said about Pinterest, and I think about any other platform at this moment. So it's definitely TikTok and commerce. It's definitely Pinterest and commerce and AI. So I think first of all, try and look at the bigger, broader picture. So where all these platforms are going and what are their priorities? Because when you understand that, then you can you can more safely try and imagine a direction. So, for instance, very, very good example, Facebook didn't just deprioritize news in a day. So that was a process. That was something that I would say people, particularly publishers, were observing and seeing, of course, trying to um, and make sure that the impact would dilute as much as possible. But that's something that was bound to happen. So at the same time, diversifying is so important. And I think that that's been because the way user access news has changed dramatically. So if we think about the main access, takes place so much from search, whether it's, the organic source, whether it's social search, whether it's video, fragmentation is a reality. Then are you being very original? Are you trying to, what generates interest behind that piece of content in the first place? And I think we are again, I try to tend and see more of the positive side. But I think that the way that the access to news in general, it's truly happening on online platforms. We're not just talking about the need to regulate it, but also what are the actual ethical, philosophical implication of it. I mean, I recently read a beautiful, very short, I think it was 15 pages, but, very short, very effective paper by Professor Luciano Floridi, like a very big expert in digital ethics, philosophy of information, and philosophy of technology. What will happen? What are the implications when everyone when Gen AI will be so spread out? And that's the importance of regulation. That's why we really need to make a step forward and kind of, in my opinion, do so very quickly. But again, to your general question, how do you keep up? I think try and read so much of what the CEOs of the platforms declare and say, because that's usually just gives you a glimpse of where they are going in the future. I think for sure we will have to take into consideration the AI in social media market, because this is expected to grow immensely from this year 24 until I would say 2029. And this is a huge market that is expected to grow almost at 30% rate. And so much will happen, so much is going to happen even as months go by. And you have to really think on your toes, and at the same time try and build a strategy that encompasses more platforms, but also I would say more aggregators. So just try and be where where people are, where your audience is. So you have to meet your audience where they are, because these days I don't even see anymore a distinction. At the beginning, I think it was pretty much clear there was a person doing social media. Now it's Yeah, there is usually, of course, a team and strategy team and dedicated social media people, but it's a matter of everyone. So everyone should be interested in how a piece of news is distributed, and even more so sometimes crafted entirely on social media, created on social media, coming from a social media conversation. So it's something that you can't just avoid, and also you have to join into bigger, deeper conversation that your audience is interested in. So I would say be very much focused on understanding and reading a lot of the context and trying to decode that.
I agree with you, and I think it's very important to understand you. And as you very rightly mentioned, be where your audience is, right?
Oh
If
yeah.
my audience is, I mean, if my target audience uses a specific brand or drives a specific car brand, then I need to be inside that car's showroom for my audience to see, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand the audience and then be where the audience is. I think it will make a lot of sense. And I agree with
Sorry, I possibly also understand why they're at that coffee shop in the first place, because maybe, that coffee shop serves a better coffee or does something, that you should also be interested in understanding. So be where they are, but also understand why they are there, if I may add.
100%. I agree. And one important factor, again, is how the information is being consumed and where the audience are actually looking for news and information and feedback or comments or reviews. And I know a lot of people will use X to consume news. They don't go to the news publishers' websites anymore. They just log into X and then they search for the information or they search for the hashtags. And which tells me that a lot of things start trending then. There is some disinformation, of course, included, bundled into that. But trends, I think, are really important these days. How do marketers keep up with these trends, and how do they know what thing is trending these days and which trends to follow and which trends to let go of?
Well, so you said so many things. So let's try to trying to recap everything. So in my mind, so yes, definitely the way I think I touched on the way news are being consumed in the first place. So if we look at 24 digital news report by Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism this year, it says exactly what you said. So basically, that the main access to news happens from platforms, whether it's I think it's staggering, must be over 70%. So whether it's social aggregators, whether it's search, whether it's content, whether it's video, so less through the actual publishers' website themselves. But that doesn't mean that the same news that you don't get to the actual website. You do. You do from all of these sources, but you also do um, when you really listen to, as you said, to trends and everything that's been happening, because sometimes, uh, news have a way to just unfold themselves also directly from something that's been happening by watching a real live event or something that's been unfolding in front of our eyes. So it's really important that we are very reactive to those pieces of content, and we actively listen. And that's why it's important to be where your audiences are, because you cannot you cannot be avoidant of observing, that something is just happening in front of you. So maybe, there used to be a time where you would think about, oh, this is the time where we're preparing this type of news, and this is going to happen this week, etc. And that still is very much valid. But then there's everything else, everything that is happening in real time and given by events and circumstances, and whether it's politics, whether it's like a massive event like the Olympics, or anything else that's really could have an impact and resonate in the rest of the world. So how do you keep up? Well, basically you read a lot. You try and consider all of these sources of information. You definitely, I think it's important to have each one of us. Like probably we all do. We have a variety of people we also listen to, whether we call them creators, influencers, whether they are like journalists, whether they are stakeholders in general that we like to listen to and take their perspective because we appreciate that. But I also like to do the opposite. So try to inform myself through, people that I don't particularly agree with, just because um, that's how you make your informed decisions. So I think you don't have to shut your thoughts, and you always have to listen to a lot of opinions, a lot of understanding of the different angles of the same aspects, because that really kind of makes your piece of information more round. So um, try and be very open also to to your sources, of course, and I think accuracy. I think in a way, in an era of AI and where everyone can really say whatever they want in whatever form, I think it's really important that we still remember that quality and expertise um, matter. They matter a lot, and they will matter even more. So quality of the content is absolutely primary. The expertise is also made by a consistent way of delivering, some piece of news in an unbiased way, in a very informative way. So, and look for that. Definitely look for that. And at the same time, try and dig into trends. So we said it before, trends can be, these days there are, I would say, so many trends. First of all, news fragmentation, definitely, not just that, but also the way that AI is impacting on platforms. Think about, Meta just announced the open source of Llama 3.1 just very, very recently. Why so? Of course, to compete with OpenAI and Google, but what are the takes? Zuckerberg said so many things. So first of all, Meta's vision is definitely that, there were millions and billions of different AI models, so not just one model. If we talk about trends, I think younger generations always impact, as well as all other groups and user behavior in how they consume content in the first place. So how AI is perceived by them really impacts also what other groups will eventually get to think. That's very true everywhere else. So you go and search for your pieces of content. Maybe you've heard something, maybe it can also be definitely a video. So YouTube is a big, is very big in terms of searching your piece of news, your piece of content, because maybe you heard already something and you want to understand what's the thing behind it. TikTok, that's the same. Instagram, that's the same. So social search is a trend that's been existing for many years, and now I think we're seeing that expanding it to many, many more platforms. But then there are like other things, like Reddit. Reddit has been going on for so long, and at the same time, it's still finding ways to be out there and be very relevant in the news. And just as I mentioned before, very, very recently, it's been acknowledged how Reddit has been impacting in terms of for many, many publishers records in traffic to site. So is this happening because also Reddit has been growing in terms of search relevance? Definitely so. Is this also because of the deal has been tracking with Google? Yes, I think everything is impacting very, very strongly on what is the outcome of something. And so we have to be we can never ignore even the minor trends, and very be willing to reignite and reimagine the way we are crafting a strategy. Because, I mean, you can't just create your own strategy and that's it, you're done for the year. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. You have to really be thinking, be following, and really understanding, is this working? Is it, I mean, you can predict certain trends. You can definitely imagine that certain platforms will be bigger than others. So you should definitely be there. But at the same time, you have to evolve with the, evolution of all of these platforms, because there's something that they're unfolding in front of our eyes.
I think it makes sense. And the conversation is getting more interested, but in the interest of time, I think we need to wrap this up as well. So for me, just to summarize on what we discussed today, one thing we understand is that social media has come a long way, and I think there is a lot more to come. Within it, we see a lot of new things happening. Of course, the first takeaway for me is to understand the audience, understanding their behavior, and then understanding why they are behaving that way. That's very important, as you very rightly mentioned. And then being very proactive in reading a lot and listening to what the CEOs and the higher ups of those platforms are speaking about their future potential collaborations and how they may impact your brand, because there is a place you might want to be, but you can't because you don't have the expertise. For example, there is a lot happening around AR, working on the large language models and so on and so forth. So I think it would also be important for the marketers and non-marketers interested in marketing to upskill themselves, and so that they can always be on top of the trends or whatever is happening in the industry. Please do add if I've missed anything, and then probably we can wrap up the conversation, but it is supposed to be continued.
I think it's a brilliant wrap up and recap of everything. I mean, we could talk trends and touch on many other things, but it's really, what I think should be taken is that it's like a living matter. So you really have to be, always very attentive and always reading a lot, because that's really a huge part, I think, of the job. Is like trying to be as informed as possible, and also create your pieces of information as broad as possible, and try to understand, because if you are within the platforms themselves, then you understand also how things develop.
Perfect. Well, to the marketers, please read a lot, as Roberta has been saying repeatedly. Well, thank you very much, Roberta. It was a pleasure to have you here, and I really look forward to hosting you in person for the podcast sometime this year, I hope, whenever you're coming down to Dubai. And thank you very much once again. It was a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. My immense pleasure, and thanks so much for listening.